Well, the idea is a group. Yeah, a lot of people together. Because when I started this game, I thought, well, this is no trick to do by yourself. You better get a lot of people that are more experienced than yourself, older than yourself as well. And we'll try and work together and see what we get. Consequently, I mean, as you know, unconsciously when I'm talking about this, I talk about we. It's always we. Couple of years later. Non, parce que je regardais s'il n'y avait personne. Hector est là, Hector, you know, my right-hand man. Hector Saunier, well, he was with me. Well, Krishna was around too, but he was too. Krishna is now teaching at NYU, head of a department at NYU, you know. Yeah. She's got a full professorship, poor bugger.
Well, not so bad if you know how to use it.
There's no way.
Well, I've been trying.
The trouble with him, you see, is, look, he's done no sculpture since he's been back in America.
Oh, it'll stop you if you think that...
That's it.
Yeah.
He's done some plates, but not many.
There was
But you see, there you are. This is because you've got to remember that Krishna's a damn good sculptor. And he's done some quite important sculpture. He's a very good sculptor. Absolutely frustrated on that way. His wife is almost better off than he is because she, Judy Bloom as was, she paints as she wants to and she does things for textiles. I mean, you see, she's not committed. But you see, once you get into a job like that, you've got a department, you've got a master class to run.
a long way from anywhere.
I know Seattle, strangely enough, because my uncle, Charles O'Neill, used to own a certain fraction of that place in its early days. He died in 41 or 42 at the ripe age of 90 or something like that. But he was a wicked old pirate, and not regretted by anybody. But he was my uncle. He married my father's sister. I had two American uncles, in actual fact. I mean, it was he and another one who was in Canada and afterwards came also to Spokane, that neighborhood. And I've been there. I used to know Fuller at the museum there, you know?
Sure.
Fuller?
He was Buckminster Fuller's cousin or something.
Was he?
Yeah.
I never associated those two, and I know Bucky very well indeed.
Of course.
I've worked with Bucky even in Chicago.
Richard Fuller died.
He did, yes, I heard he'd gone.
About 8 years ago, I think.
But I remember in the early days when I was in the States, I used to live on museums. You just go to museums and had some stuff. It was like going around with $100 bills, you see.
The Art Museum has your prints, of course.
And
so does the Henry Gallery.
What was nice about that one, yes, there was a very good chap there, whose name I've forgotten.
Jervis Reed.
Was it? There was a chap that bought a lot of those things from me. Anyway, that museum was the best of the lot because if they liked something about it there and then, and they give you a check as you walk out. Now, some of the others take 6 months. Cleveland at the moment is very slowly digesting something or other, but the peristaltic movement is very slow. But meanwhile, I've just had 3 shows here, or two at the same time in Paris, one in Luxembourg. Needless to say, Luxembourg produced more money than the Parisian ones, but I've got a very good dealer here who is at the moment selling a lot of pictures for me, big pictures. And he's not a very amiable character, but he's a good salesman. Now, what else do you want?
That's what I would like to find, is
That's
somebody
all
who was
we
nice
need.
to get along with.
Well, you'll see him. You'll see him. And these chaps, I mean, the only thing to recommend him is his enthusiasm. He came to see me last night and took away 4 big pictures. Absolute delight, I mean, excitement and so forth. Well, all right, he'll be able to sell them. None of the years I've had before were that much motivating. One of them just went out of business recently. A very good woman, had an excellent gallery here with whom I worked some years. Bought quite a lot of stuff, but never did very much. But you see, kind of social woman and so on, you know, with a lot of money. People are no good to you.
Well, what can you do? Keep looking.
Get on with the work, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. The baby? Tu n'aimes pas ça? Moi j'aime beaucoup ça. Tu vois les choses? Hein, tu vas là, il y a une vibration, tu vas tirer ça maintenant. Hein.
Je dirais en noir.
C'est ça. La raison qu'il est noir, c'est pas de notre faute exactement. C'est parce que notre sein n'est pas pur. Il y a des trucs dedans. Il fait une sorte de grain, tu vois. Alors, comme on n'a pas besoin de ce grain, je l'ai mis parce que je veux que tu vois un effet que tu reliefs seul. Alors, tu vas tirer ça maintenant. Et suis ça finalement pour la main. Dégrossir un peu la pièce, tu vois. Puis viens avec la main parce que c'est assez joli. Après, on fait ici en couleur. Alors, la courbe a une certaine ambiguïté. Très intéressant pour notre expérience, parce que nous allons essayer, on va essayer de poursuivre ce qu'on peut appeler les lois, les transformations, comme les choses se transforment. Oui. Non, mais les courbes se prêtent à ça, parce que tu as déjà ça qui va imprimer comme ça. Tu as vu, non? Ça c'est des stamps. Ça va s'imprimer comme ça. Mais si tu veux, oui, mais alors, tu vois que c'est très différent. Par exemple, le tonnerre monte ici, non? Hein? D'accord. Là, il descend. Ça veut dire que ton espace n'est pas à l'équerre. Il a un billet comme ça. C'est que, d'ailleurs, dans la physique moderne, c'est très amusant. On est absolument sûr, n'est-ce pas, que l'univers est asymétrique, qu'il a un billet. Et le billet comme ça, il n'est pas comme ça. Et puis, quand on a fait la molécule de DNA, la molécule de double hélice, si on avait fait, ça c'est qu'on appelle un plus 1 hélice, comme ça. Si ça avait été le minus 1, nous aurions été, beaucoup de nous, qui auraient eu les figures très rouges, parce que pour nous, ce n'était pas possible que ça soit à l'envers. Par l'organisation du temps-espace, il n'est pas normal que la chose tourne contre le mouvement. Oui, ça c'est très drôle. Alors, avec ça, je vais te montrer quelque chose. Bon, si on a des sondes prédominantes, il y a un truc comme ça, ça c'est une rotation de 180 degrés. Et on arrive à ça. Alors ça c'est bien, ça monte, ça descend. Mutations that give rise to differentiation of species, in fact it goes a long way.
And also sometimes the quality of an artwork.
Well, we always play those things. You see, we play the erratic consequences. You see, and of course, what I'm provoking people to do here in the beginnings of this, as you probably remember, the way we get started, I'm provoking people to trust their sort of unconscious consequences as much as they would deliberate logical consequences. Because I think the irrational things, so-called irrational things, are as much use to us. In fact, sometimes more sure. What people call intuition. I mean, all the language of this subject's a bit doubtful, you know. But the thing itself, when you do it, is not doubtful. It's very concrete. You found that.
Well, as I teach, do you think I should try to bring the computer into it? Do you think that's a...
There's no harm in that, as long as people understand that a computer works with colossal speed like an extremely stupid man. Doesn't it?
I don't know.
No, but you see what I mean? Now look you. If you take a person, what you would consider to be a sensitive and intelligent person, you propose to him something or other, a sort of problem, his mind will produce some fairly elaborate circuits and come up with a solution. All right. A computer will exhaust all the possibilities and come up with what's left. which is the way a very dumb character would do it, except he never have the time. But it does that at the speed of light. So for certain things, you can produce your results that you can never otherwise have. But of course, I mean, it's as simple as all hell. It's an instrument. Depending on what you ask it, what you do answer. Yeah, I would use it, certainly, wouldn't you, nowadays?
It's my temptation.
That's
And what's
just
she been up to?
that's the plate. Remember, I was trying the colours last time.
Well, I like rude colours myself. Very much. Rude colours, ça veut dire. I don't like polite colours mostly, though I've seen some nice ones here. Yeah, I think that's quite funny. Is the relief here and there very necessary to your purpose?
No.
It's not. You could exaggerate that if you want to. It'd be quite a trick.
Oh, I see.
If you want to exaggerate that relief so that you have a relief there.
Yes, this one is because it becomes a profile.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And a frontal at the same time.
Well, that's a little bit of manipulation. Get together with old, next time if you're printing this again, get together with Hector on that. He's extremely handy with
stencil.
tricks with a roller. It was he that developed the famous trick. So if you want to roll a colour over half of that, you see, you just put 2 slats of wood up here, roll away, and it just climbs up on the...
Climbs up on the track. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also, you see those things there, which in a way a conventional printer would consider to be errors. You can have them or not. If you don't want them, get a little more oil into that intaglio, and don't wipe it too hard, and you won't get whites appearing there. As they're so deep and so narrow, you'll never... You see, this is mechanical. You won't get a roller. The roller is scanning this, you see. You won't get a roller to penetrate in there. If you roll from here, you'll get it in there, and you won't get it in there. You get that, do you?
Yeah.
Or if you roll from here, or if you do both, of course you've got a better chance of getting in. But you will not be able to use that sort of thing, you see. The other thing is, let's suppose you wanted a lot of light margins on there to outline all of those forms. This side always this side.
Just slip.
Looks like put a brake on.
I did something similar, and I didn't clean the roller. I was
You
just playing.
you can control that. It's been done quite a lot.
Where
And it can be controlled quite decently.
with the slippers all. And the
You know, that's rather different there. There you've got a doubling, you see. That's different. You were over that twice, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, the same soft roller, but it's.
That's what I mean.
It's
Now that's doubling. It's not the thing I mean. The thing I mean is it's a fake. It gives you a kind of fake relief. It's like printing 2 things just off. See, just off focus like that. You see, which gives you an apparent relief. And it's done just by breaking the roller, holding. See, you know, when your hands are on the 2 edges, you see, instead of letting it go loose, rolling its own weight, you put a slight backspin on it. Well, that of course is colour. Very different matter. Where's the intaglio alone? We got
I
that?
haven't got it here.
Tell you anything about that. I want to see that in intaglio alone, the red intaglio. And I must do that because when you put that into a different intaglio, you transform the whole thing.
This one hasn't got an intaglio.
I know. But that, you see, I need to see 1 colour and then 2. Because each time you did that, you caused a transformation. See? Now, you want to see that. You needed to see it more than I do.
Yeah.
I need to see it because otherwise I can't tell you anything about it. In fact, I can't tell you anything anyway, but you need to understand what's going on a little bit. Not exactly understand. Follow what's happened to you, you see. I've got to see what happened to you. See, that's all we can do. I mean, we're not creating things like God, in my opinion. We're following a series of consequences. And I've got to see the consequences to tell you anything about them. But the whole thing is, look, if that is your intention, this is pure nonsense.
Yeah. No, that was one of the
vice versa.
first ones. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Experiments.
The thing about colour is very obvious indeed, is if you have to have colour, it's the first term afterwards. It's the first term of anybody that sees it. If you don't have to have a colour, you're probably better off with the black and white.
Yeah.
See?
Without anything.
No, but it's you that must identify your necessity there, you see. So he's asking me because I don't know. My necessities are not yours. No, if you want to try that sort of thing. Now you see, this is one of your first plates. Now you can use that for two different purposes. One is to try and get a result, final result, on which you're absolutely sure. In which case you should try and get there with a minimum of moves. Let's say when you see two possibilities, take a long time to decide, but then come down on the one or the other, and don't try them both. Because with 3 colours you can make about 64 different prints.
Notice that.
You can. And if you make them, I assure you that God doesn't know which one's right.
I have a video recording of John Cage
Yes,
making etchings.
a very old pal of mine.
Yes.
It's because of the
Did you? I don't know. Well, you probably remember me, but we haven't seen one another since the days in Philadelphia, the 40s.
No doubt. Yes.
And if you show the 54 colours,
On one print.
you have demonstrated your inability
the feeling.
It just turned out that way.
to find the right one. No, but he was, you see, there you've got 2 different things. Here we've got people who are looking for the right one,
Are looking for the right
you
one.
see. Because this has got to go out and stand on its own 4 feet and walk around by itself, assuming it's anything at all. He is doing something which is an experience.
Just got to draw the
Like a performance?
Like, if you like preparing a piano, which he does so beautifully. Of course, one of the things I think was so absolutely lovely about him was that he immediately identified the piano as a percussion instrument, which is what it is. Because he's done some lovely things for that, I mean, absolutely beautiful things. But no, he is, you see, in French it's something you call a démarche that he is interested in.
Dimash?
A démarche.
D-A-M-A-C-H-H?
M-A-R-C-H-E.
Oh,
Démarche. It's not exactly translatable, that. Démarche. Process doesn't describe it. Operation doesn't describe it. It's something that has to do with the quality of operation in a process. See what I mean? It's used in diplomacy, you speak of démarche. See? That's your...
That'll be my word to think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't leave that behind. Now, you see what I mean? No, he's at something else entirely. And that simple-minded characters would go in for a thing like that. You see, they merely lose themselves, get themselves lost. Cage, it's something that is absolutely deliberate. He has gone out of that metro station with the intention of getting himself lost. Lovely. I've done it myself. When I first came to Paris, I used to do that. Go to a metro station, a quarter isn't known. Completely lost. Lovely. But you see what I mean? This gets into the business a little bit of a game that's been rather abused lately, which you call conceptual art. Conceptual art, of course. If you want to be cynical about it, there's somebody who's telling you about what he could have done if he'd only known how to do it. You can't put him on the spot and say, all right, brother, let's have it. Because it isn't there. Which is all right, I don't mind. And I don't mind a performance in which, if it's effective, but most of it, of course, is bad theatre. Such bad theatre.
Home movies. Home movies.
Home movies are the worst kind. Yeah. Which doesn't mean that you should condemn the whole thing. I never do, because every now and then something happened. You see something done that way. The happening time, of course, was, I mean, pure fun and games. It was charades. And tremendously self-indulgent for the people who could wallow like mad in public. Well, the point is, you see, if you've got something on your mind, it's got to be done, which is my particular situation for the last 50 years or so. You feel yourself to be outside of that sort of current, the ordinary atmosphere of things. For instance, if things are going frightfully well, all right, I don't mind. It doesn't make any difference to me. Things are going very badly. Again, makes very little difference to me. You know? Sometimes, I mean, I see in case of particular friends or something that are having troubles with it and so on. But I'm not dependent on a market, a mass opinion, whether affairs are going well, you know, whether the stock exchange is going up or going down. Very little indeed. But you know, you try and isolate yourself from that as much as you can, don't you? Try and walk about as you want to. Because getting involved in those things, see, that's the great point of being a foreigner, which is so good.
Being English in France?
Well, I've been a foreigner all my life, practically, deliberately. Because I've lived in France, I mean, a greater part of it. I haven't become French in the least. In fact, even though I operate on their frigging television and cultural programs and things occasionally, I've taken the greatest of care to cultivate and preserve an English accent.
So you can stay the outsider in
Yeah, always be an outsider.
It's not fun sometimes.
Well, but it's what's so good about it is that you see, whatever you offer and so forth can be taken on its own merits, rather, not because you are this or that or of that or that variety.
I think I know what you mean.
But all the local accents in different parts of France, different parts of England and so forth, even local dialects, I think are extremely valuable to preserve. And the peculiarities, well, you get in England between village and village, you know, except where they're all melted together by this sort of enormous mixing that takes place now, you see, which I think is deplorable. No, I think that's a good idea. In fact, I wouldn't mind seeing France split up into Brittany and Gascony and Burgundy and Orleans and so on. Whereupon, if the whole thing were generalized, let's suppose the sovereignty of France, of Germany, Italy, let's say the common countries was abandoned. That's what would happen, I think. It'd be much more fun. It'd be much more fun.
You know, it seems to me the print tradition,
I make all kinds of different editions. There's one sort of pending at the moment. Apparently the characters want 250, and I made one of 300 for, it was for America too. A whole series of illustrations for a poem on sort of Iliad subject, a poem on death of Hector. And that was a bit of a job to carry out, but I don't mind, at least if they want edition of that size, I don't mind. Same time, I don't mind. Here, of course, we have a very simple view, and that is I'd like to see one good one.
One good one.
One good one.
Sufficient.
It might. Or, if reasonable, I mean, they can make any sized edition. But the abuse of this business, which after all I had a lot to do with putting in circulation in America. You wouldn't be peddling these things so nicely in America if it hadn't been for the activity of our lot and the Museum of Modern Art in 44, first exhibition. I'll tell you, in 40, when I came to America, you could not give a modern print away. Couldn't do very much in Europe either, but you couldn't at all in America. But that, you see, since then, the thing has come full circle. It's got around to, you see, we wanted to replace this nonsense of people using reproductions, which is somebody else's decision, somebody else's choice, choice of history or whatever you like. Exercise their own choice, and original works cost no more. And every now and then, of course, they get something wonderful. Half the time they get something bad. All right, doesn't matter. But they're still using their own initiative. So we thought this was better, and we thought we were getting somewhere. And we did for a time. Whereupon, people suddenly said, but there's money in this. And by 1970, I knew one dealer who was selling prints for $6 million a year. And knowing the way he operated, he was making 50% on that. He went bust the following year, to my great delight.
Wrong move, huh?
Well, no, he got excited. They all do this. They think, well, I am a man that is worth so many millions a month, you see. But it's not. You're not. You can blow away in a week because you've extended yourself enormously with things that you've got to pay right away. And suddenly your people just hang back and don't pay you for 3 months and you're shot.
Well, that's, yeah.
No, but the point is, you see, whereupon these people abuse the whole thing, and the place is now cluttered with reproductions, or reproduction techniques,
Mass production.
like the lady you were quoting from San Francisco, making a living out of reproduction techniques. Back to square one, where we started. We don't do that, you see. I mean, if people come here, and I mean, after all, when you think of the people we've had, they had all the big names in the place, and they'd like us to produce an edition for a lot of money, like all those things that got set up, Gemini and all these things in America. We would say, no, mister, go and find an artisan. It's not for us. You come here, you can do it yourself. This is for artists, it's not for artists. And consequently, there it is. I mean, it's gone all the way around. Now it's come back to fake reproduction. Half of this stuff of his, you know, has now got into reproductions, and yet he did some lovely things with me, tremendously original, in technique as well. This is an extremely comical outfit in America. Now, this is what we mean.
That comes, my students bring that to class, and I say, what's this?
Yeah,
It's a little
so
marketing.
they well might. Well, look, if you look at this lot, you see, that is for people who like caricatures. This is for people that like buildings. That is for people who like flowers. This is for people that like musical instruments. This is for people who like little girls. This is for people that like fancy landscapes. This is exactly what we said we were not going to do. We're going to shoot down. Well, the idea is a group. Yeah, get a lot of people together. Because when I started this game, I thought, well, this is no trick to do by yourself. You better get a lot of people that are more experienced than yourself, older than yourself as well, and we'll try and work together and see what we get. Consequently, I mean, as you know, unconsciously when I'm talking about this, I talk about we. It's always we. It's never me. Because we did. I mean, look, I've got a chap that started to work today. Now, we're already collaborating. I'm not telling him what to do. I'm not dominating his thinking and his way of operating and so forth, and I never shall. He's contributing very solidly, and he'd come up with one or two things there that none of the other people count. That's what I count on. So we can still go on, you see, and so what we're making now is not what we made at this date last year. And that's rather good after 50 years or more of it.
Because of the new people.
No, because also, no, because the natural conditions of the thing, you see. If you developed a rigid system, of course, you should have given it up. You've got a doctrine, principles.
They take over the human.
Well, also, I mean, that's the end of thought. It's like opinions. You shouldn't have opinions.
How does the flexibility come in? Is that because of the source of music, or?
I wonder. I don't know. It's always been one of my background sort of ideas that you must yourself, that the conditions are, life is, you must be yourself. Completely flexible, see. Where it arose, I don't know, but I don't think that I've arrived at it recently. Yeah, well, there's and of course the next mixture of nationalities here. That's old Hoken, that's Stavanger. I want a good third, at least, of Orientals.
A third?
At least a third, more if possible. But because I don't want a background of European Occidental thought. I don't want a background of any sort. I want a background which is in question. No? You'd go along that, would you?
Yes.
You think that's worthwhile? I get some trouble to do that too. I mean, in theory, there's no numerous clauser going on here. I mean, in theory, we take anybody that comes, if there's a place. And there's about 50 here. We work around 50. I'd like to cut it down to 25, which means cutting down the overhead of this place, which is frightfully expensive. I mean, I could get this space for working in America for half the rate. It's annoying because I want to do it for as little as possible because people I want are poor. The rich I could do without. No, I'd like to cut down to half. On the other hand, I'm not sure. That is what my wife says. She says, that way you would not have to be here so often. You wouldn't have as many changes in the people you're working with. You wouldn't waste so much time starting a lot of people that disappear, that never go any further, which is bound to happen. Because this is tough. We don't disguise it from anybody, you see. We get somebody who says, if it's tough, that's grand.
At first.
That's what I want, you see. If it's somebody who says it's tough, it's getting too tough, and no, I don't think I can manage it. All right, they go away. You can't foresee, I think. I've never been able to. I can't foresee what people are going to do. Some of my best aces didn't look like much when they came. But there it is, I don't know whether to do that. See, she gets to the point that I've still got a lot of painting and a lot of printmaking to do. I get an enormous amount of work done these days. And it can't go on forever. I mean, let's head up now. Bit of luck, I might have 5 more years to run. But, so I've got to get done what I can, you see. So she thinks I ought to pull in my horns a bit. I'm 81.
81.
Mind you, I was playing tennis yesterday.
I'm not surprised that you're famous.
and I can still do 25 meters underwater, but unassisted. But that won't go on forever. You realize, the old machine holds up very well considering, but there's a limit. And also, see, the feeling you get when you see, you waste less time, don't you, when you get older, because you go from one thing to another without losing too much energy. But there it is. There are so many things to be done, and you do realize, I mean, if you're young enough, of course, you know you're going to live forever. When I was in the East, in my early 20s, I mean, the conditions were rough. We even had a bubonic plague. It worried me for a moment. I knew I would live forever. All kids do. All kids do. All the others are going to get shot down, but not you. You get to a bloody war. The others are going to get hit. You're not going to get hit. You know, that's right. That's a natural thing, you know, at age. At a certain point, you say, well, I'm not going to live forever. And then at another point, you will say, all right, I've got so much. I'm running on borrowed time now because my father died 15 years younger than me, and his father, and his father. So I'm running on borrowed time, and I've got so much to do. And it doesn't worry me, but that you try to use, use as economically as possible. Nothing. I agree with you.
I have to
absolutely
say
agree with you.
I have to say you. Suppose I
No, but I mean,
in
that
a collective sense,
goes anywhere.
what you have done, the other
Nothing comes around exactly again. I mean, if you like, a similar situation comes around in a different form, but it's never the same thing again. You don't go back to anything.
But I
And
that's why I went to see Rolf Mesh.
yes,
He was.
yes, I've got that feeling too. That you see, anything we do goes back even further than that. I mean, it goes about at least 7,000 and possibly even 20,000. Everybody that's scratched on a cavern wall is related to us very closely. In some respects, he saw more clearly than we do. And we got ourselves a bit cluttered. The thing I feel about our present situation, of course, is we don't want too much talk, too much blather. The literary bit and the verbal bit has become frightfully exaggerated in this time. And that it distracts our attention from a very much quicker and simpler, less specific communication, which is graphic. And that consequently that graphic communication is very important to renew and to consequently that graphic communication is very important to renew and to I see no reason why not. Actually, I mean, I see there are, you see, I'm very conscious of the fact that I've got a certain amount done, but there's no and taught little princesses to paint. Believe it or not, very bad painter. Well, this is one of my little jokes, you see. If you look at that, you see, that is done according, it's measured very precisely. That thing is not flat. It's not flat, look at it. It's on a curve.
It seems to curve, but I never trust my retina.
The only thing you should trust, because this silly bugger knew that this was right, because he'd measured it. He never looked at it again. We look at it, look, you see, the simple principle we work on is you see what you see. It's a nice simple deal. You see what you see. And if somebody says, well, that's an illusion, I say, fine. You need good illusion. Do for us. But that's one of them. There's another one there, the imaginary solid, you see, which is actually 4 parabolas. The construction of 4 parabolas. And jokes like that, interrupted lines.
No, this is much more elaborate than I knew about it 14 years ago.
Yeah, well, we did them. That was done nearly that length of time. Did you know Adriano Lambe? He was one of my assistants at that time. That, of course, that is another way of using the construction for 2 parabolas to make a vortex out. You see? This sort of thing many of these drawings I made specially for this. And that's the unconscious dots, you know, following dots, getting from there to there. And you see, that is one of the very simple fields. Looks very elaborate indeed, a sort of cosmic shape. But all it is that very simple thing we do with 3, you know, the 3-axis construction, which is somewhere here too. But it's done with any 3 curves, one of which is a spiral, and so on. And then it's just followed logically, you see. It's quite hard to do because you get lost in it. So I did that one deliberately. You see, it has a tremendous, it's not static, it's an expanding universe.
It relates to time.
Yeah. Does that whether you want it or not. Now there's your time thing, you see. It's a circle, and that's a circle in time. And jokes like that, interference of 2 orders of curves.
Interference and a phasing kind of process.
No. Well, one is a varying amplitude, the other one's a varying frequency. And that's the 2, one against another. Produces patterns of that sort. That is simply applying a rule to find a track to a completely erratic thing, you see, and you find it.
know, I've seen this, your new version of the New Ways of Gravure.
You've seen it, yeah? It's around in America, yeah.
Well, I assumed it was like my old copy. It's actually
I know.
more elaborate.
It's got a lot of stuff in it, and there's a whole lot of stuff on colour, which is actually, Oxford wanted me to write a book on colour, and I worked on it for years, and I know most of the leading colour researchers, including the two boys who got the Nobel this year, at MIT. But then decided I couldn't be bothered, that really life's too short, and without sort of giving a year or two, dropping everything, and I've got more important things to do, like the painting and the rest of it, in this job. Ce qui était déjà là. Bon, et maintenant, les couleurs, parce que on utilise ça simplement pour montrer les deux façons d'utiliser l'image. L'espace de la couleur et l'espace de la structure. Et une façon qui vient ensemble, parce que sans ça, ça devient complètement arbitraire. De colorer des choses. Et nous voulons intégrer la couleur. Donc tu fais simplement une tache de bleu sur le vert, une tache d'orange, rouge. Mais pas un rouge violacé, parce que le rouge violacé a une ambiguïté dedans, jaune aussi. Très difficile. Alors on va, le plus élémentaire, le plus simple, c'est pas chose de fois. Alors après on peut continuer. Comprendre ce qu'on fait, une façon de travailler avec un maximum de certitude. Parce que dans la couleur, le plus grand mal, c'est difficile.
Non? Pour la couleur?
Oui.
Je pense que je le verrai à le faire aujourd'hui.
C'est possible. Oui. Sinon, on n'a pas le temps de l'analyser cette fois, mais je vais faire une jolie.
Jeudi prochain,
Oui, jeudi, on fera ça.
quand tu le fais maintenant.
Bientôt le noir.
I'll be here Thursday, morning and
Non, tout
afternoon.
passe.
Be here at 10 in the morning and 4 in the
Tu imprimes
afternoon.
encore les noirs, mais avant.
Because if you want to shoot anything, of course, go ahead and do anything that seems feasible. But,
Well, we talked a little bit about
and of course, I've done programs. I mean, the beginning of this thing in America.
the doctor's thing you just came back from.
No,
Oh,
the beginning,
1940.
1949.
Yeah, 1949.
That was the beginning of television in America.
Yeah.
The beginning in England was somewhat earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Since 32 or 31.
Exactly. Yeah.
I saw a program there, incidentally, of Sandy Calder, one of the very early ones. I happened to be over in England. But I did some of that stuff in America, and it amused me very much because it was very much like high school theatre.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what he was doing.
But someone was controlling, so they thought.
They thought, mostly not. It was extremely fun. I mean, I enjoyed myself very much indeed. In fact, you can do what you like on television as long as you don't give a damn. If you do, go easy.
Well, that's sort of upset my idea of this idea of connecting things.
Yeah.
And since then I've been saying disconnect, interfere. Because it was through interference that the video image came about.
Now, as a matter of fact, you've got something there, because one of the things we work on here as a positive creative method is interference. You know? In fact, you see that thing we were playing with in the mirror down below there is an interference. Series of interference patterns. It's, yes, I see what you mean. It never occurred to me that it was contradictory with the connecting thing. No, it's true. I must say, I got a lot out of, on this colour job, I was very much entertained rereading Goethe on colour.
I never did.
Well, it's very amusing, because half of it is pure bullshit. It's speculation, nowadays replaced by very much more greater certainties. He had a very nice idea that the mechanical explanations of colour were completely unsatisfactory, and he talks about a thing called psychological colour, which makes very good sense.
I should like to read it.
It's quite worth reading, but you'll find some of it is pure bunk. And on the other hand, he tried things, experimental chap, you know. But had very strong criticisms of Newton, which of course, is fair enough because see, Newton is now Newton, young Helmholtz, and Hearing, and all the rest. You see, these last 10 years are completely out of date. I mean, and all of the books on colour, the whole lot, because they're all based on a very, very simple notion, which is light, of course, being energy. The distinction of colour must be a
So somebody can hear and ask about the buzz. What did you say? The Cité des...
Cité des Arts. Il déforme le Z. On fait ça intentionnellement pour varier la couleur quand on emploie la couleur. On le fait aussi pour corriger quelque chose. Par exemple, s'il était nécessaire d'éliminer ça, éliminer. Bon, on met quelque chose ici exactement. Quelque chose d'à peu près.
Qui a exactement la même forme.
Oui, mais à peu près 2 fois cette épaisseur. On passe ça à la presse. Alors ça fait une bosse. Alors après au grattoir, on enlève la bosse.
Pourquoi
Pour éliminer.
Oui, mais je croyais qu'on la faisait exprès pour la couleur.
Bon, recommençons. C'était ce qui vous est arrivé là. Cet accident qui est arrivé là est une chose qui est provoquée intentionnellement dans le but de corriger, pour éliminer. Si je voulais éliminer, disons ça, enlever entièrement, laisser blanc comme ça, je mets quelque chose derrière. On it with a completely free and loose structure, you know? Now, ideally, that structure is done completely relaxed. Did I show you this? No, I didn't. Give you an absolutely perfectly clear line, see? Only, when you do it on a soft ground plate, you'll see immediately if you've got any tensions. Now look, let's have a look at this one. Those lines are done completely decontracted, you see? The tensions are immediately visible, you see this one. Again. And you work with a structure of that sort. You then play again with consequences, continuing all of the permutations of this, as you can see, using a sort of general rule that we call whereas a serious experiment, you see, and in a childlike sort of way of doing it, it reveals things, you see. And the advantage of doing that rather than doing a serious plate must be done with some sort of plan, which is what you know before. With this thing, you can use unknown matters which are not known to you, because it's only an experiment, you can't do it out. You're not afraid of busting it. And nobody does it sort of right, because there's no sort of right way of doing it. And some of the blunders turn out to be very entertaining. Can't foresee the result. So, we end up by taking a certain situation right towards the end when you've eliminated half of the thing. And we make a couple of colour tests of that, cold and warm colour. Simplest sort of way of coating colour. Just to demonstrate how colour space and figure space are going to get together. What can do in the end. And we've got to find some sort of relation to them, otherwise, see, you're just colouring up them. That's the sort of game, but if you want to play it, we can. Buren, you've done. Let me get to man's got these problems of finding a place to live, so if you...
Are you going to leave your stuff? No, I'm taking my stuff with me. It's just a very pretty apartment, and I know how. I mean, it's 10 times better than your living conditions now.
whoever's here in the morning, there will be there either Hector Saunier,
I met him yesterday, he told me
history,
I met today.
and his gal is Hiroko, who is a Japanese gal, very nice. Also can help you. And if you want to get started on the experiment, you can do that if you like, and we'll do a bit together. And meanwhile, there's nothing prevents you getting us off plates for decent size and getting steady out and started on serious jobs you want to do. I mean, you can do 10 things at once.
Yeah, I brought some plates over.
Have you got some plates we can, well, we'll start experimenting on different ways of printing them, you see. You see? 'Cause, you've got limited time, haven't you? How long have you got?
Well, 3 months, hopefully.
3 months. This one, remember, when you make
caliente y eso frío. Y ya que está caliente la placa, lo pones a abrir para seguir dando vueltas. Es un barniz.
Me.
And from another source, the idea of in capturing a journey in the computer memory. And so to do those studies, I had come up with this form.
Ah, yes.
And I'm trying to think how to
Interpolate that, this.
Interpolate.
Ça, c'est la vague de Rousac, qui m'a toujours tellement amusé. Seulement, évidemment, dans le Hokusai, il y a des bons hommes dans ce bateau. En train de se noyer, comme ça se doit.
And after Buckminster Fuller's ideas on the geodesics, I changed the T-square, we call it, you know, the drawing tool, to become a C-square. It's shaped like a C as compared to the C. And of course in English, C is ocean, so it's a play on words.
Oh yes, well, puns are all very good.
C'est un papier ou c'est la couleur du... C'est quoi ça? C'est le papier?
Papier
Contre-collé.
Contre-collé, ah oui, c'est ça.
Chine, hein?
Chine-collé.
Du chine contre-collé.
Ça doit pas être facile.
Oh non, il est très calé, n'est-ce pas?
Oui,
Les gens
je
qui
vois.
sortent ici, ils savent
Oui.
faire. How long ago were you here? Long time ago, wasn't it?
When?
Long time ago, I think.
Yeah, 1969.
Comment il obtient les dégradés comme ça?
Oh, no. Ah, mais c'est très simple, les dégradés,
La
je vais
potence,
te
ça?
montrer. Non, non, c'est pas dans la place, dans l'impression.
Ah oui?
Mais je vais te montrer comment faire les dégradés là-haut.
And I had to do this drawing for the computer.
Yeah, I know.
Classic
It's a
golden
good
section or
Gold section.
the golden section or the
I
Fibonacci series.
think you'll find it's I don't know if it's a Fibonacci. I think you'll find it's a logarithmic spiral.
Logarithmic spiral.
Logarithmic. Logarithmic. Spiral logarithmic. Parce que nous jouons les jeux comme ça. Logarithmic spiral.
Sure.
Well, that's what he got there. And that was, see, that's what he was interested in, and there's where he's working out some consequences of it on a computer, you see.
And I gave it to the computer, and the computer drew this. From the data, the raw material to the finished image, they go through these wonderful permutations to get there, because the computer is so stupid in a sense, it has to be, you know, built up.
L'ordinateur, n'est-ce pas, est évidemment l'homme le plus stupide qu'on connaît, puisqu'il devrait épuiser toutes les possibilités pour arriver à quelque chose. Mais il fait ça très vite.
Il n'a pas d'imagination.
Il n'a pas d'imagination, mais il fait ça à la vitesse de la lumière,
Presque.
dont il est utile.
Oui, c'est ça.
Ça nous sert. Mais il ne faut jamais surestimer le truc, n'est-ce pas? Croyez que c'est vraiment intime. Right. I'm going to do a little work here, you see, in a moment. Because, very nice indeed.
Oui.
This is that cyanotype process that you do in sunlight.
Just so.
It's like watercolor.
Blueprint.
Blueprint.
I didn't know Blueprint had been educated into cyanotype, but I don't mind.
Well, it was
It's an
cyanotype before it was blueprint.
it's an American practice to bemuse yourself by intelligent sounding words,
Like serigraph.
which, as Goethe remarked, will serve you instead of that which will not go into the head. That's a free translation of the renowned Goethe.
So more of the same.
Astounding word, yes, there they are. We've got some very charming things in that. Yes. N'est-ce pas? Oui. Très très intéressant. C'est une démarche, j'espère qu'il y a rien entre les autres. Évidemment, le choix de couleur, the color choice, there's arbitrary, isn't it?
Because the Japanese woodcut lends itself to rapid color changes, and I follow that.
We work, of course, on a simple system here, as you probably remember, that there's an enormous number of changes possible, but we try to get the one which is, when you see it, you can't see the others. You eventually look at the others. Very often doesn't work. On the other hand, the old pal Sam Francis was showing, John Cage, showing a thing the other day, in which I think he had 52 or something like that, different colour versions. And they're all absolutely charming. And of course, to us, there's only one conclusion, none of them was right.
They hadn't got the right one.
If you'd been right, you wouldn't need 52 to one, and you wouldn't be able to look at the others. But if you try, look, you can get 64 out of 3 colours.